one of the things that makes this album really special compared to my previous albums is that the program is entirely different. I've really spent my previous programming really focused on one composer, having done Handel arias for my first album, and then the Mozart album, which was all based on Mozart arias, my favorite arias by one composer, whereas Beauty of the Baroque is a collection of some of the greatest treasures of the entire Baroque era, you know, from the very beginning with Dowland all the way through to just almost going to before Mozart. So, and including also Monteverdi, who was the first real composer of an opera. So for me, choosing the rep in this program was an entirely different experience, because the theme that really unites all of this repertoire is the Baroque period. Of course, when you have more composers, it's more difficult to find the favorite pieces because there are so many. But I've really picked all of my best stuff for this disc. And it's something I've been waiting to do for a while, actually, because I've sung many Baroque roles and composers. So a chance to really put them all together. Some national treasures and some hidden treasures, I would say. It's a great opportunity, really, to put that on disc. There are some old favorites of mine, like Let the Bright Seraphim. I can't say that it's very old, but I have sung it over the past couple of years in concert. It's one of my favorites. Dame Curie sang Let the Bright Seraphim at the wedding of Charles and Diana. I remember listening to that as a child and wanting to sing it. I also have some really new things. And some pieces are familiar to me, but I'm singing them for the first time. So both of my Bach arias are ones that have been my favorites for so many years. And it's the first time I'm having a chance to finally record them, perform them, and put them on disc. Something quite familiar to me is Galatea's aria from Acis and Galatea, called Heart, the Seat of Soft Delight, which has a very special place for me in my heart. I made my debut at Covent Garden as Galatea. It was a role debut and a house debut. And I was also dancing in the production as well as singing. So it provided an all-encompassing challenge in every way, with all new experiences and a new team of people I'd never worked with before. So it's a very special moment for me. And that aria always moved me so much when I was on stage singing it, because it comes at the end of the piece, that I really felt that I needed to have that on this disc. Another aria that I was very nervous about doing, but I'm so glad I did it, is Ombra my fu. This was another aria that was very much in the early programming, even for the Handel arias disc. And I delayed in putting it down. I felt that in my first program, I only wanted to sing roles that a woman would really perform. And in this collection, Ombra my fu has a much stronger place, being one of the great treasures of this era, I would say, and possibly the most famous aria. And I've also grown as an artist. I've gotten a little older. Well, I'm not old, but I'm older than I was 3 years ago. So I felt it was also time to put it down, really. And I really enjoyed singing it. It was quite a spiritual moment that day of recording it, because it was just bringing my heart together with my head and creating such a great space of music, but also of vocal and technical passion. And that was very challenging for me, because I had emotions with this aria, but I needed to keep them peaceful and contained in order to perform it. So I hope it came out well. Recording sessions are a wildly exhilarating experience, actually, because the learning curve is really steep. It's my third album, and I have learned so much in between each one and during each recording. It's a very hyper-concentrated experience for me. I haven't really seen many other people record, so I don't know, but I know a lot of my colleagues were saying to me, you really are so very concentrated during the entire sessions. And I guess that's the case. I get very, very concentrated and centered and focused on the music, the emotions, the text, bringing every single aria or song alive and finding colors that really suit each song. When it even comes down to instruments, that becomes a very personal choice. And Harry Bickett and I sat down together to really talk about which instruments we wanted to use, how we wanted to play, where I wanted to sit with the instruments. We did 2 songs of John Dowland from his very first book of lute songs, and I chose to sit right next to my lutist and really play as if we were 2 people in a room singing a song together. And I think that that's really captured in the recording. Similarly, for Monteverdi, we have performed a maybe not so well-known piece, Quel sguardo sdegnosetto, which is from the Scherzi Musicali. And I wanted to create a sort of introduction to this ciaccona, which is a very famous Baroque device of dance rhythm and dance patterns. And I wanted to start off by starting with a very simple ciaccona bass and expanding slowly. So we really sat down to plan how the instruments were going to come in one by one, and we practiced and we rehearsed and we really played around with things, brought in instruments at different times, and really tested the waters to see what really fit us. As one of the greatest things of the album really is to actually invent alongside the composer again, and to use one's own flavor and one's own feelings about music to actually make music and to write music is one of the real gifts of Baroque music. So I think it's great to actually have the possibility to make that a whole collection on CD. I've never worked with the English concert before, and they were absolutely one of the most stunning ensembles I've ever encountered. To meet an orchestra in the studio is the first time I've done that. My previous albums have been with the Orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment, who I've worked with many, many times on stage. I know many of the players very well. There were a few players in this orchestra that I do know very, very well, and I was thrilled to have them there, but also some lovely new musicians who I hadn't had a chance to work with yet. And Harry Bickett and the English concert work together all the time. Harry is the main music director. So in some lovely way, we all work together as if we had known each other, because in one way or another, through one connection or another, everyone had spent time together. As I said, recordings are a very intense period of time, and those hour sessions and 2-hour sessions and 3-hour sessions and rehearsals really bond a group of people as musicians as well as people. So especially with the level of concentration that we invest in bringing alive these pieces of music through the microphone and to the listener of the program, that really bonds you with musicians almost for life sometimes. And I did have a wonderful time working with Harry and the English concert. I have been a fan of Andreas for a long time. I've heard about him for such a long time. I have seen only a few performances of his, and I've heard, of course, all of his recordings. We are label mates at Decca, and it's my great honor to have Andreas on this program, because we have never worked together before. There have been a few missed opportunities, and I really wanted to embrace a chance to make music with him on disc.